Hi, and welcome to the Scenic Route podcast. This is the show for building a successful and sustainable business on your terms. My name is Jen, and I'm a rebranding sociologist with a soft spot for rhubarb pie. Each week, I'll strive to expand your branding, business expertise, and mindset capacity. I'm so excited you're here, and now let's get into today's episode.
Heather Jones is a native New Yorker who now lives in Alabama with her wonderful husband and two beautiful children. She's a lifelong lover of books, animals, and creating. Heather is a certified life coach who has taken the long route with many exciting endeavors on her way here. At 18, she joined the army, met her husband, and after serving 6 years, exited the military to start culinary school. She entered the entrepreneurial world officially as an Etsy shop owner, and over time, while enjoyable, she realized there was something more she wanted to do, and that is when she found her passion to inspire and empower others. Heather is also a published author. She wrote the book More Than Mom, From Stay-at-Home Mom to Entrepreneur. Welcome, Heather, to the Scenic Route podcast. I'm so happy to have you.
I'm so excited to be here.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. How are you?
I'm a bit tired, but I think that's just like, well, yeah, I don't know. We're all it's just the season of life. But Heather, so anyone listening can get an idea of who you are and what you do. Like, can you briefly please walk us through your story, like how you started and how you got where you're today, the pivotal crossroads, the big moments?
Yes. Okay. Thank you for asking. I'm going to try to keep it brief because I'm 40. Where I came from and how I got here could take us forever.
That is true. That is so true. Kind of like, I don't know, I don't know, people always go like, oh, it's like an elevator pitch. Yeah, sure, but I just hate that word. So I'm like,
there's a lot of stress behind that word for me. So I'm just going to go with the easy stuff.
Yeah, just kind of like give us an idea. What do we need to know about you?
Okay. What you need to know. So I am a mom of two, a 9-year-old boy and a 7-year-old girl. I am happily married to a man I met while we were both serving in the Army, and we are both veterans now. I am a business owner, and I have been a business owner in different capacities for, 5, 6-ish years now,
That's
but about 2
amazing.
years as a life coach.
That's amazing. Ooh.
Thank you.
How did you transition out of the army? I'm curious. Or when?
Wow. So I joined the Army when I was 18.
Wow. Okay.
A
Yeah.
lifetime ago. Yeah, I joined the Army when I was 18. I served a little over 6 years. And 6 years was one enlistment for me. So I did just a little bit more because I was deployed when I came up on those 6 years. So I did just a little bit more and then I came home and I got out. I just knew. I knew I wanted to get out. It's not that I hated the Army. I loved the time that I spent in the Army. I met the love of my life in the Army. It gave me a million good things to talk about. But I knew that that enlistment was all that was meant for me. I had no heartache about getting out. And I've never had heartache a day since getting out. So
did you start with life coaching right away, or like what brought you from the army to life coaching?
Oh, there's a path there.
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Perfect for this podcast, right? Okay, let's see. I got out of the Army as somebody who was doing computer maintenance. That's what I did while I was in. So I got out doing that and I fell into a job that was a little bit of logistics, like government type stuff, with a little bit of IT, information technology. And that was in the capacity as a contractor for the government. That job led to a federal government position, which I held for a few years. And then during that time, I went to culinary school. And
I did not see that coming.
So many things.
I was like, you probably told me like, you're probably going to be like, oh, I started life coaching or I started like a modality or something. Culinary school.
When I say there is a path, there was a path. We're not even close to the end here, but I'm going to try to keep it brief. So went to culinary school while I was working full time. I really, truly thought that I was going to open a bakery. So the entrepreneurial mindset was there. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I loved it.
Except for I didn't end up opening one. My husband hit me with, I want to do 20 years in the Army. And I was like, oh.
It's not really with the bakery.
Yeah, I
probably.
can't move a bakery every 3 years with me. I mean, unless it's a bakery on wheels, which was not my dream. So, back seat,
Yeah,
that took
brick
a
and
back
mortar
seat.
bakery will be hard to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I could get somebody to pick up a whole building and move it for me. That would maybe not. So, I put that on the back burner. I said, all right, let's rock. Let's do this. Let's do 20 years in the military. You do your thing, I will support, and I'll figure it out on my end. And that's what it was, a conversation. There was a whole conversation, but that's what I did. So we switched duty stations. I stopped working. We got to his very next duty station. I got pregnant shortly after, intentionally. And during that time, I was hit with something I never ever in a lifetime saw coming, which was I decided I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, which shocked the pants off of me. So,
You're right. Like, but it's so interesting. You never quite, you have this idea. And
mhm.
now we're getting into what we kind of like where we want this to go, right? Where before you're pregnant and while you're pregnant, before you give birth,
Mhm.
you have this idea in your head what type of mom you should be, right? Like,
Oh, yes.
and like, oh, I don't know, it's all sorts of things, right?
Mhm.
And it's never actually happening that way.
No, no. Yes, we have a zillion shoulds. I should be working
Yeah.
and finding a place for my kid to go during the day, and I should be doing this and I should be doing that. And that's exactly what I thought I was going to be doing. And then when I was like, wait a minute, what is this feeling? I think I want to. And there was a little bit of shame, right? I was shocked when I discovered that I actually wanted to stay home. And this is while I was still pregnant. My son hadn't
Yeah.
come yet, but I just knew that I wanted to be home with him. Somehow I knew that I wanted to be home with him. And I felt guilty because I'm like, oh, that's not what I had planned.
Where was the guilt coming from?
I should be bringing in income because that
Oh,
was my plan. That's what I thought I'd be doing.
like the self-sufficiency or like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
worth or
No, I left home at 18 and I
okay.
supported myself from that point on.
Yeah.
Um, so I was an
Oh.
independent woman. I was
Yeah.
going to
Ooh,
have a
dependency.
career
Yeah.
and income to contribute. Yeah. So there was a
You
lot.
should have, yes, you should have a career, you should have an income, you should have
I should have all the things.
all the
I
things.
should
Oh,
be all the things. I should do all the things.
yes.
So yeah, a little bit of guilt. So as after my son was born and I was sitting there and I was getting the itch, it was coming back. I'm like, okay, I'm here and I
Mm,
love being home with him. It's the decision I made and I don't regret it, but I really
yeah.
need to have an income. How do I do that and stay home? So I started, I don't know if you're familiar with MLM, it's multi-level
Yeah,
marketing.
yes, it's not such a big thing here, but yeah, familiar with the concept ever since Tupperware was a thing in the 80s.
Right? I remember that. Yeah, so that's where I started. And they tell you, oh, own your own business. And I'm like, cool, I want to own my own business. And so I started doing that. But I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel like owning my own business. But it led me to realize I did want to own my own business.
Mm.
So I opened Etsy shops.
Oh, what did you
Yeah.
do?
So I had 3 shops at one point. My very first shop I was doing crochet. And then I opened up a little section of that shop where I was doing wood signs, like home decor stuff. And then I started another shop selling my late stepmother's vintage jewelry. And then I shifted my wood signs into its own shop. So 3 Etsy shops.
Wow, that sounds busy.
It was ridiculous, but I was exploring. Like, I didn't know what I was passionate about. I had always planned on working for somebody, even though deep down inside there was that entrepreneur like screaming to get out.
Yeah. It's like such a good thing though, right? That you gave yourself the space and time to explore and also like that you had like the privilege to, right? Because a lot of us start their journey with, oh, like I've got to do this and it's better work or else,
Yeah.
right? And
Or
it
else I
puts,
don't pay the light bill,
yeah,
get my
exactly.
car
And
repoed. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, I get kicked out of my house, I lose my lease, and whatever, right? Like
Right.
an unbearable amount of pressure.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's always kind of like, well, I feel you're not making the best, most thoughtful long-term decisions when you're under economic stress, right? Like you're
Yeah.
going for you tend to go for the quick fix, for the easy way out,
Mhm.
for the one thing you should be doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And out of necessity, right? Because there's a lot of fear there. naturally. I mean, I'd be terrified if I thought I couldn't pay my bills. And so I think that even though I can't relate, I did have that privilege of kind of taking my time and exploring, because we had the solid income with my husband
Yeah.
being in the military at that time. And I'm grateful for that. So it's not lost on me that I had that available, and not everybody does. But I can imagine there's a massive amount of fear there, like a pressure. I have to make this work. I have to figure out something right now.
Yeah, and I suppose, and the funny thing, the funny ha thing is, like, even though you had some of the monetary privileges, I bet my sorry little ass that you had a lot of fear, right?
Totally.
Because we all do when we start our businesses. There's like a tremendous amount of fear. So what were your biggest ones that you conquered?
So I have a history of perfectionism. And when I say history, that's not really accurate because it's still there, right? I'm a recovering perfectionist. It still shows up, it's in there, but that was probably the biggest thing. Opening my own business was the perfectionism. It's got to be perfect. What are people going to think? What if I show up imperfectly? What are people going to say about me? What does that mean about me? Oh my gosh, I'm going to be so embarrassed. People are going to know that I'm not good at this. I'm a fraud. I mean, take a breath. 8 million other things,
it sounds quite mind spiraling. So I'm like, take a breath.
Right?
Take a breath.
I know. Let's all take a breath together. That was intense.
Yes, and it was like, and I could so relate, right? Like, I remember there was a time when I don't know, I'd rather do like throw money at Facebook ads to kind of like stay in the anonymity than actually just reach out to my network and be like, hey, I got this thing. Do you know anyone who wants to buy this? Right? Yeah. Because I'm like, I don't know, what will they think of me? What will they
Oh yeah, I've been there. I did that.
We get an honorary badge, right, sister.
Right? Yeah, there's such a fear of being seen, and more than a fear of failure, a fear of success, because then you really are seen.
Yes, but which is so absurd, right? You're a perfectionist. I am semi-perfectionist, but I'm surely a high achiever. So like high achiever and having a fear of success, and you're like, wait, what? Like, that's so contradictory.
Right? But so much more. People need to know, like, this is a thing, ladies. People are afraid of these things. You are not alone. We all experiencing it. Those of us that are doing the thing, that fear either was there or is sitting in the background, and we're just plowing through it.
Oh, I love that, plowing through it.
Trudging.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like, when you go fast, when you're on the hustle highway, you plow through things. You're like, that's fine. I'm just gonna deal with it later. And it just comes around and hits you harder, right? Like, and if you're intentionally moving a bit slow, that also means you are conscious when those feelings arise and when they pop up, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
Well, what are we doing now with it? How we're dealing with, like, with all those fears and things that come up.
Oh, so a lot of coaching in the beginning. Yeah, to come up with the tools.
Yeah. Like, it's a lot of coaching, but even before that, right? Like, it took me a while to actually realize, oh, maybe I do need coaching. Like, I mean, there was a point where I'm like, I somehow the same things keep happening again and again and again in slight variations. And that just kind of first, I don't know, I just had to first piece that together. Yeah. Do you have a similar experience with that?
I don't. I didn't even experience coaching until I went through my program to begin a coach. And that's where my opportunity to receive coaching began. Not the opportunity, because the opportunity was always available to me. I just didn't realize it was available to me. So that's where my journey being coach started.
Oh, wow. Okay. So we're like mind blown.
Yeah. Like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not just going to coach. You want me to explore inside too? I have to do the work too. Okay.
Yeah, that's how it works, though. Did you not read the fine print?
Yeah, that part.
What was the biggest light bulb moment when you're getting your coaching certification?
I did not know. So I knew I was a perfectionist. I had been called a perfectionist, and I had actually been called a perfectionist from a very young age, from a very loving place. Like, it was a celebration. And this is not to say
Ooh.
it's a bad thing. I don't want anybody who associates with being a perfectionist to think that they're bad. It's bad.
Yeah,
There's
we're
something
not
wrong with
labeling
them.
good or bad.
Absolutely not. But it was celebrated. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm a perfectionist. I always strive for perfection. That's a great thing, right? And then I was hit with the truth when I went through coaching program was perfectionism stems from fear. I'm like, oh, so it's something I'm to work through, not celebrate. I have to dig into it. I was like, holy cow,
Oh.
I didn't see that coming.
And is it kind of like a universal fear, or is it always a different fear that shows up differently in people in perfectionists?
There are different things that can trigger perfectionism. So let me backtrack a little bit. So as I was going through the program, the way that this particular program that I was certified in, the way that it was taught was fear stems from four places, or can show up in four ways. And one of those ways is perfectionism. But that can show up for people who do, and it can show up in everybody to different degrees. Some of us have that tiny bit of perfectionist tendency,
Yeah.
maybe in one area of the life.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
not
some of us,
universal, right? It could be in your private
no,
life, in
it's
your business.
different degrees for everybody. For me, I realized it was my primary fear. So it shows up in a lot of areas in my life.
Oh, that's interesting. Like, what are the other three?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna forget one. I always do. So you got perfectionism. You have the pessimist,
Oh, yeah, makes sense.
the martyr, and the saboteur.
Yeah, the murder
Like
makes total
self,
sense too. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, and I think that's especially, I don't know, I'd say to some degree, like all parents do have, especially the ones in
That's
roles of mothers now. Like,
yeah, that's a really clever assessment. I obviously I can't speak for every woman, every mother on earth, but I suspect to some degree we do. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, generalizing here, like, right?
sure.
But surely how it shows up in my business is kind of like having the tendency to over deliver and kind of like, I mean, it's not straight martyr, but it's kind of like mixed in there too. Kind of like I'm kind of like responsible. I'm better do over deliver, kind of like taking on responsibility for your client's success, which ultimately you cannot do. You cannot, even if you would want to.
No,
Right?
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we have to take responsibility for our own success. And so, of course, if you try to take responsibility for somebody else's success, there's a massive letdown if they don't show up fully on their end.
Yeah. And I mean, then you start, I mean, I remember I had that very early on in one of my clients. It wasn't a really great client fit, but I mean, I don't know, at the beginning, you're like, oh, it's money. So who am I to charge?
Yeah.
Right? It
Yeah.
kind of, I don't know, most things went bad that could go bad. Yeah. So that client, it was like really, darn, right? Like, I mean, so everything kind of like went bad. So I was really trying my best. I was working my ass off. I was like delivering and delivering and delivering. And she was never just doing her homework. And then I was thinking of like, I mean, I'm a perfectionist or trying to do better, improve. And I was like, okay, how can I make better structures, better processes that this doesn't happen? And yes, some good things came out of it, but ultimately it was I had to realize I cannot force her to like to do better or to change or whatever. It's not up to me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of times that there are a lot of business owners that make that, I'm going to use this term loosely because I don't want to offend anybody, but mistake, right? Thinking that they are responsible for
Yeah.
what happens on the other side of that service or
Yeah.
that product. And I don't know where everybody picks that up. Me, I did that too. And because I was looking at everybody around me and I was
Oh,
like,
you picked it up
oh,
from comparing yourself. Yeah, like from comparing yourself to like I assume all the glamorous people on social media.
yeah,
Taking a
yeah, they're
wild
all
guess
making,
here.
comparing myself and what my services could, maybe should look like.
What your life coaching
Oh,
should look like. And then
yeah.
you're, of course, not looking at the life coach who also is just starting out, but you're looking at the life coach who is 20 years in business.
Yeah, and definitely not looking at like how I truly want to show up as a
What
life coach.
suits
Just
you?
right. No. What are they doing? They're successful. I should be doing what they're doing. That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And then you're like, oh, actually, wait a minute. They have a team of 30 and they have, I don't know, licensed out they're like teaching models, and like that's not really
Oh, and they've
gonna
been
work.
doing it for 15 years, and I've been doing it for 1 or 2.
Well, like, isn't that mad though? Like, I always feel like a lot of us who are listening, they started entrepreneurship after they've been in the corporate world, right? So you've been in the corporate, and there one way or another, you decided, nope, not the life for me. Or in my case, more freedom. More, I want to do the things I want to do the way I want to do them. And I started my own business. I think it was 2017 now. But and then in business, so the first couple of months were successful, then was kind of like a bit of a slowing down period, which is fine. But I started to look like, oh, okay, those branding people, they look successful. Maybe my business should look like their business too. Yeah. That ended in me wanting to burn down everything.
Oh my gosh, you're not the first person I've heard say, let's just burn it all to the ground and start over. Because sometimes it feels so much easier to just do that. Because we kind of got ourselves in a mess trying to do what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, but yes, and at the same time, it's kind of like this, I don't know, this struggle of doing it again, that you're like, no, I don't know, I'd rather not burn everything to the ground, but I do want to burn everything to the ground. I don't know, it was a tricky period to kind of get out. Like and the only thing that really helped was actually slowing down and listening to what feels good, like actually really tuning into my body and look like, does this decision I just made, does this make me feel, I don't know, alive, expanded, or does it make me, I don't know, feel small, or like, ugh.
Oh, that's so good. That's such a wonderful, intuitive space to be in, to just slow down and stop and question yourself instead of looking around you.
Yeah, which, not to say that it was particularly easy.
No.
It sounds simple enough, right? But it's never like, what are kind of like in your clients, I mean, I assume one of your top tips is also to slow down. Just slow the fuck down.
I don't know why
And
that
I'm
would make me
always
want to
like,
grumble.
yeah, but it's like, it's the thing we know, but the thing that's really hard for it's, I feel, correct me, I feel it's the thing we know we should do because it's also the thing that actually works.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's kind of like, yes, I don't know, you should eat healthy because then you're getting all your vitamins.
Yeah.
Right? There's not so much wiggle around it. And still we have such a hard time with it. Where do you think that's coming from?
So this is a guess on my part, because, again, everybody's going to be a little bit different, but I'd say for some, I think the fear of falling behind. Falling behind what? I don't know. Let's just leave that out in the air, but falling behind. If I slow down, I'm getting behind. So I can't slow down. I got to be busy. I got to stay busy. And if we feel like we're busy, we might be able to tell ourselves we're productive. Of course, that's two very different things.
So then we can tell ourselves we're getting ahead instead of falling down or
I must be doing
losing
something.
ground.
I'm busy, right? Busy is not necessarily being productive. But if you don't differentiate, you could talk yourself into that. Well, I've been busy all day. I'm moving. I'm making moves. I'm doing things. I'm going to get somewhere because I've
I'm
been
making
busy.
progress. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. So it's the fear of like not being further ahead than you think you should be. And then kind of like overcompensating by tricking your mind into, as long as I do busy work, my mind can believe I'm making progress. I'm getting ahead.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that sounds like one hell of a slippery road to burnout.
Right. And I suspect, there's other stuff in there, but that's the very first thing that comes to mind.
That's so interesting. Yeah, and this ring is painfully true. The past couple of years, especially around my birthday, or maybe other people have it at New Year's. I don't know, but for me, it's birthdays where I think like, I don't know, I should be further ahead, and I have no idea actually what ahead looks like. But it's kind of like, in the past, it came from this place of whatever I want. I'm not so sure, but I know I don't want this. So it's kind of like that. And I should be further along, coming from the, I really do not want to have this, what I have. So I'd rather run away from it. Doesn't matter where.
So I think, first of all, you're not alone. Like, whether it's you said birthday, New Year, I think all the major events, right? We just had a kid. A friend just had a kid. A friend just got married. A younger sibling just did something that we have not yet attained. Like, major life events cause a lot of reflection, and not always in a way that's beneficial. A lot of times it's in a way that's judgmental. Those shoulds.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. And I mean, and it's not just you doing that to yourself, right? It's also, I don't know, when you just had a kid, then I don't know, someone's going like, oh, when's the second one coming?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't walk from my C-section yet, but sure, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I'm still wearing adult diapers, but yes, let's talk about child number 2.
Yeah, I mean, that's what society says I'm supposed to do. So yeah, let's rock.
Yeah, it's true, right? Like the major events cause us to reflect, good or bad, right?
Yeah.
Like
Reflect, or I guess I said reflect, but maybe compare is more appropriate. I know we said this earlier in the episode, but I feel like
yeah,
compare.
maybe like reflect actually is a good thing, right? You should you should you should reflect. No, but reflection is good. Yeah, I really think I think we set out to reflect, but what we're actually doing is compare.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
We start on reflecting. Like, reflecting would just be, oh, okay, I did that. And instead of like, yay, go, you're amazing, you just did that, you're like, oh, but she did this and that. Oh, so I'm behind.
Yeah.
We so quickly switch into comparison mode.
Yeah. Yeah. Comparisonitis.
Yes, I love that word.
I do too.
So why do we do that? Why do we always kind of like feel consciously or unconsciously feel the need to compare ourselves?
That's a really good question. I'm sure if you ask 10 different people, you're going to get 10 different answers, but here's my answer.
I want to know yours.
Yeah.
Those people are not on the podcast, so those people are not cool, so I want to hear your answer.
They have to share their opinion somewhere else. I think that we begin to compare ourselves when we are in a space of low self-esteem. It's not, I mean, I want to caveat that with 8 million things, but let's rock with that line right now.
Sure, let's rock and roll.
Yeah, I think if we're not we're not sure of where we are because we're not in a space where our self-esteem is significant, or and I'm going to say self-esteem and I'm going to say confidence, and I'm going to try not to use them interchangeably because I don't believe they're interchangeable. They're not, they're similar, but not the same. So when we're in a space where our self-esteem is kind of tanked, or our confidence is low. And when I say so self-esteem, like how we feel about ourselves, who we are as people. Confidence is like how we feel about our own abilities. So when I differentiate, that's what that makes maybe a little bit more sense now that
No, it does. I think it's a very important distinction, right? Like, how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about what we do. It's important to, I think it's important to make the distinction, especially for people who have not the ability to do what they want, right? So they're not, so confidence and self-esteem are not interchangeable.
No. And they're very closely related. And I even teach a course on confidence, and self-esteem building is a part of confidence building in my course and in my opinion. But
Yeah.
I do separate the two. But I think in either case, when we are not feeling self-assured or when our confidence is low, that's where we can fall into comparison-itis. Because we're not looking at our strengths and how proud we are of ourselves and the abilities that we know we have. We're looking at where we lack, and that's where we're focusing. So we're starting to compare where we could be better. Why aren't we better? We're not in a state of self-love.
Oh, yes. Oh, I love this. Yeah, this need to always look where we lack. Right? Like where we're not good enough. Ooh,
yeah.
That sounds like some inner child healing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing.
No,
Like you hit the
we're
nail on the
laughing
head.
because
Yes.
this is the only thing that actually gets us through. Like,
right.
It's bloody hard. No, but I mean, I'm an Enneagram 7. Laughing is my coping mechanism. So, but like, yeah.
I don't know what I am, but that's my coping mechanism too. So maybe I'm that too.
I would do the Enneagram test. And if you're a 7, like, email me because.
Okay. We'll commiserate.
I have a sneaking suspicion. No, but like, yeah, this is so true, right? Like, ugh. So then we kind of like circle back to, okay, we not self-confidence, to kind of like how to self-esteem. How do we go about building that up?
Okay. There are about 8 million ways. One of the ways that I like to start with is there's a couple places I like to dive into like immediately with clients. One of them is affirmations, and it's not generic affirmations. They're very specific. The client comes up with the affirmations based on what they are able to believe about themselves. And even sometimes that's kind of a push for some. That can actually be really, really hard for some people to even come up with one. And in that case, what I recommend is come up with the evidence. So when you create the affirmation, create it using the evidence that you already have. So I am such and such thing because. Why do you know that? What is the thing that comes after the because? Or today went well. Like I did well at such and such thing today because I am, I don't know, good at writing. Right. Whatever the thing is. Fill in the blank. So it's using the evidence. If you find that you've used affirmations in the past,
evidence-based affirmations.
Yes.
I like that.
So there's that. And there's so many things that you can do with that, but like, don't just create an affirmation and put it somewhere and, look at every once in a while. Integrate it into your day multiple times a day, every single day until it becomes a habit that is like that comes second nature to you. You can just recite it and you believe it and it hits home and you're like, yes, that's
the thing though, right? I feel the believing part is what a lot of people skip, right? Like you can write on that sticky note, I'm a millionaire, a gazillion shitload of times. If your mind's not believing what you're saying to yourself, as I put myself out there, I don't think you can fake that till you make it.
I used that phrase earlier today. I so agree with you. Yeah, I don't subscribe to fake it till you make it. I find the evidence. Like you're not a complete piece of shit. There's some good stuff about
High
you.
chance that you aren't. Yes.
That's horrible life coaching advice right there. You are an amazing person.
I mean, seriously, you should put that on your website. You're not a horrible piece of shit. But I'm sure there are some things we could work together.
Oh God, nobody's ever going to hire me again.
No, it's actually brilliant. It's actually very unique positioning, though.
Yeah. If this resonates with you, call me.
So that's branding 101 lesson. Okay. Maybe that's a bit harsh. Yeah. Maybe we can phrase it more nicely, but that's kind of like, that's the thing about the positioning, right? You want to attract the people who are like, hell yes, this speaks to me, and repel all the others Like repel them like Teflon. Just nope.
Yes,
So
yes.
I would think about it.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is me. This is who I am. I cuss a little bit.
That's cool. Something I want to talk about is what you said before is the self-love part. Right? Like showing ourselves more love. Because there's a fat chance we're showing a hell lot of more love to everybody else in our lives than to ourselves.
Yeah.
And especially in the way we talk about ourselves, right? Like our little nagging little critic voice, like,
I was just going to say, I feel like you and I have coached together because that's the exact same. Now that I remember
maybe
where we were in this conversation, maybe. Yes, that inner critic work. That's actually like my passion. That's my favorite thing to do with people is to start to put that inner critic in the background so she's not so loud in the forefront.
How do we do that? How do we put her on the back seat?
Okay. I love that question. So awareness, not an exciting answer, but that's where we start, right? We don't know what we don't know what we don't know. So until we bring our awareness to it, which is exactly like this is all you need. This conversation right here is all you need to realize that you need to be aware. And then you are going because you've heard it now. It's like that red. You buy a new car, you never see that car anywhere, and you buy it in this one particular color. You never see them, and then you buy it, and suddenly they're everywhere. Everybody owns one, and you're wondering why so many people went out and bought your car.
I have never seen as many pregnant people as when I was pregnant. I was like, whoa, everyone's
suddenly
pregnant.
It's in your awareness. Yeah. So now that you've heard me say this, you're going to start questioning, like thinking, being aware of the thoughts that you have.
So are you start questioning if it's my voice, if those are my thoughts coming from a self-compassionate, self-loving space, or is there the thoughts and voices of my inner critic?
So your inner critic, it might not be your voice. That's actually an exercise I take some of my clients through. Yes, it's like my favorite exercise. It's characterizing the inner critic. That inner critic voice might not be your voice. It might be your voice. It might be multiple voices. You know, if you had a parent or a relative that was really critical of you in your early years, you might carry that voice with you. That might be the voice you hear when certain thoughts enter your head. Sometimes we get so used to hearing it, we don't even realize it's a voice. It's just what it is. It just exists all the time. You don't even realize it's there. But now with that awareness, you start to listen to it. You start to pay attention to it. You go, ooh, I just called myself stupid. That probably wasn't a nice thing to do. You might not know what to do with it in that moment just yet, but now that you're becoming aware, then you can start to take the next step to replace it, to shift it, to replace it with something that's kinder. So, and there's a lot of ways to do that, but that's the very first thing, awareness. Yeah. And then recognize how that's making you feel. When I just called myself stupid, was I lifting myself up? No. How did it feel? And you can get curious and you can start to kind of explore, like, what is that doing to me? What is that doing to my self-esteem?
Yeah. Maybe a good workaround for that, for those who have kids, is like, would I say that to my kid?
Yes.
Right? Like, would I say to my kid, you're stupid? Probably not.
Yeah.
Right? If you're listening to this podcast, you don't. You don't. No. So why the heck are you calling yourself stupid?
That's a really good question. If I wouldn't say that to somebody else, why is it okay to say that to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you should, I mean, I don't know, now I'm getting the RuPaul Drag Race catchphrase, if you don't love yourself, how the hell are you gonna love somebody else? Right? Like, but still we do. Yeah, I like that. The awareness thing.
Yeah.
Like to really have, which feels really hard, right? When you're overwhelmed, a lot of things going on, the world's going to shit currently. Like it's hard to hold a space to have the awareness.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. I don't disagree whatsoever, but I'll go back to the once it's been said and it's out there, it is almost hard to ignore it. Until it's been brought to you, I think I'd agree with that. But then like somebody listening to this podcast, they've heard it now. So now it's there, it's out there.
Yeah. And you cannot wrap it back in. That's not how the
You
mind
can't
works,
send it back.
right?
You have to keep it.
Like, sorry, return to sender.
No.
Oh God, I wish that would be true. Imagine having like a post station where you can just like return it. Be like, not gonna deal with this today. Nope. Oh man, that would be so cool. Okay, yes. Also getting completely and badly off topic. So like that's the first thing to do, to have awareness. I know you have other things that you can start doing right away to kind of like quiet your inner critic voice. Do you want to tell me something about what you brought, for anyone who's listening, what you brought today, what people can subscribe and what people can get from the resource you brought into the podcast?
So yes, I have a guide. It's about quieting your inner critic, and it is 3 simple ways. I say simple because they are simple in concept. That does not mean you don't have to do the work. I'm sorry.
And they're not easy
I wish I
or
could
like
yeah.
simple and easy.
Yeah, I wish I could wave my magic wand, but you do have to do the work.
Yeah. But that's what we talked about before, right? Like, yeah, awareness the first part, and then kind of like finding the right resources is an important step. And then ultimately you gotta do it. There's no way around it. You gotta get in the mud and get through it. In a gentle way, not in a like push.
No, in a loving way.
But
Not I have to, I suck
yes.
if I don't. No,
Yes.
because I love myself, I deserve to give myself
Yes.
this gift. And this gift is
Oh,
putting in the
yes.
work for me so that I can live my most fulfilled, joyful life. Yeah, and I'm going to get a
Oh,
little
I love
mushy.
this.
So I don't just cuss. I get soft, I get gentle, I get mushy. Actually, in my sessions,
Yes, I
I'm
love
very
this.
much of like the chill, peace, let's love. That's more my vibe in a session. But anyways, the guide helps you to ease your way into doing the work.
I love that. So I will link it in the show notes. Where do you hang out on social? Where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you?
Okay. So Facebook is just Heather Jones Coaching. Instagram, they gave me underscores. So Heather _Jones _coaching. I'm on LinkedIn. I don't know much about LinkedIn. You can find me, we can connect, but there's probably not a whole lot that's going to happen there. But it's Heather Jones Coaching as well.
Yet?
Hey, yeah, I put out in the universe. So hey. And then if you don't want to memorize 8 million places, go to heatherjonescoaching.com and you can find all my places there.
Yes, and we're going to link them all in the show notes.
Beautiful.
Love that. So I always have one last question because I don't know, I'm always kind of like needing new materials. Don't start sweating. It's okay. It's cool. It's an easy question. What book are you currently reading? Or what audiobook are you currently listening to?
Oh, I don't think you have any idea how loaded that question is.
Oh, I do. I'm 2 people. I'm the person who buys all the books she wants to read. And then I'm the person who actually reads the books she bought.
This is
not the same thing.
This is a part of the stack that I am currently reading.
I'm a stack reader too. Yeah. Love it. Okay. So pick one from the stack.
Okay. The little book of energy healing techniques. So I've been on this exploration of quantum healing lately, which, hey, may have a future in, but right now it's just exploration on my part. So that's...
Oh, okay. So when you're ready to talk about, we're going to do another episode on quantum healing.
Okay. I cannot promise I'll be the expert. Maybe you'll be the expert, or we'll have to bring in an expert, but yeah, let's rock.
We're about the lived experiences of people. So you're the expert of your lived experience. So that's good enough for me.
Love it. Love it. Wait, so can I flip it? What book are you currently Yes, please.
Yes, and I can tell you without shame. It's called The Christmas Bookshop by Jenny Colgan. And she is like one of the best / worst British chick fiction writers.
No shame.
You know, that kind... Yeah, the shame. Yeah, always read something that makes you look good if you die in the middle of it. This will not make me look good. No, but like, it's entertaining. It's soft. It's mushy. You always kind of like have an idea where the story's going, but there's still a bit surprise, but not too much. So you're on edge, just like the healthy amount. And it's just kind of like moves on in a very, I don't know, gentle pace.
Nice.
And she, I don't know, if you have... I don't know. If you've read one book of hers, you kind of know what's coming, and sometimes you just crave that. So we're going to link it to the Christmas Bookshop by Jenny Colgan.
I love it. Thank you for letting me spend 5 seconds in that seat.
Well, thank you for flipping. No one has asked me before. Hey, listen, Heather, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Scenic Route podcast. It was such a joy having you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Scenic Route podcast. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode and that you can take something from it that feels right to you. I'd be so grateful if you could share the Scenic Route podcast with others. As always, you can head over to scenicroutepodcast.com to check out all the links and resources from today's episode. Oh, and while you're there, don't forget to download my free email course, Intuitive Branding Invitation, to teach you how you can successfully tune into your own brand frequency and rediscover your brand's unique gifts, strengths, and talents. So thanks again. Talk soon.